Hello again, dear students, YouTube followers. I will explain now monopoly, the questions regarding monopoly. I hope you enjoy as much as I do the monopoly unit, Now, question number 1. A monopolist always wins more when it decides to put in place a third-degree price discrimination. Yes, this is true, because if the monopolist decides to do it, it's because it wins more by doing it, okay? It could decide not to do it, so we can think about the monopolist trying to do its calculations, and if it decides to do the third degree, but not only third degree, it could be second or first. If it's able to, if it decides to do it, it's because it earns more, than by don't doing it. So it's clear, I think. Monopolist produces at the inelastic part of the demand. No, it produces at the elastic part of the demand. Yes. Produces more than a competitive firm. No. So it's clearly B. I will show it to you in the following graph. Okay, I usually do it and explain it properly at the academy. In these questions, we will just believe this graph, okay? So, being this graph true, we can see that in a certain point here, supposing the demand is a straight line, we have the unit elasticity, price elasticity of demand equal to -1 in absolute value 1. So from here to the upper part, we have an elasticity, a price elasticity of demand greater than 1, so elastic, and the monopolist, if it makes the calculations properly, it produces less than maybe it could produce. It produces few and produces sells expensive. That is how we can remember that the monopolist produces at the elastic part of the demand. Okay. Well, I usually explain it even in principles of micro, so I think it should be known. A monopolist has a steeper supply curve than a competitive firm. No. Has a flatter supply curve? No. Has the same supply curve? No. What does it happen? A monopolist does not have any supply curve. Be careful. A monopolist produces just one point of the plane, produces this unit at this price. If you want, okay. If you don't want it, I'm sorry. But I'm a monopolist and I don't observe, I don't take a price and supply depending on that price, okay? I just choose the quantity by cutting the marginal revenue with the marginal cost, and once this quantity is set, it goes to the demand to see how much the last unit QM could be paid, okay? So it's at this per unit price. Perfect. So the supply, the monopoly supplies, okay, but it supplies just this point, okay? It doesn't have a curve depending on the price, increasing the quantity supplied, and so on. An exam question: which of the following elements is not a source of market power? Okay, clearly the deadweight loss. The number of firms competing in the market. The number of firms competing in the market, of course, is a source of market power. Leaving all the rest constant, the less firms in the market, the more market power they will have. The elasticity of demand, of course, we will see it afterwards. It's very interesting. The more inelastic the demand curve is, the higher the monopolist could charge the price. The interaction among firms in the industry Yes, we will see it in Unit 5 concerning oligopoly in theory and so on. The firms could collude and then increase their market power. Okay, so the deadweight loss is not a source of market power; it's a consequence. Yeah, if the market power exists, it generates a deadweight loss, as we know in monopoly case. Yeah, so this question you usually answer it correctly when we propose it at the academy. Okay, so no problem with it. Number 5. A non-price discriminating monopolist has the total cost function 100 plus 2q plus q squared and faces the inverse demand curve p equal to minus q plus 18. The quantity and price the monopolist will charge are. What we have to do the monopolist basic exercise. This is a very easy exercise. So we will cut the marginal revenue with the marginal cost, because that is what maximizes the profit for the monopolist. Not only for the monopolist, but in this case for the monopolist. Remember that when we have a linear demand and we isolate P, so when we have the inverse demand function, the marginal revenue will come with an expression that is almost the same as this for the inverse demand. Just we have to multiply by 2 the coefficient of Q. Okay, I usually prove this when we see each other in the academy. Now I won't prove it, we just use it. Then profit maximization condition: if the inverse demand was minus q plus 18, I put a 2 here, and so it's minus 2q plus 18 the marginal revenue. The marginal cost will be 2 plus 2q, because this is a derivative of this function, 2 plus 2q. Now we carry this 2q to the right hand side, we have 4q. We carry the 2 to the left hand side, we have 16, and then q is equal to 4. The monopolist should produce 4 units. Then with this quantity it goes to the demand, to the inverse demand, to set the price. Okay, then we substitute 4 here, and minus 4 plus 18 is 14. So this should be the answer. 4 units at a price of 14 each. So clearly B. Now the sixth question tells us about the consumer surplus on the previous question. So we just go to the graph, and the consumer surplus is clearly the area below the demand curve and over the price paid by consumers. So 4 units bought here is 4. 4 times 4 divided by 2 is 8. Okay, 4 times 4 divided by 2. It's a very easy question. Another one. Now, another exam type question. Identify the truthfulness of the following statements. If a seller puts in place a second-degree price discrimination, the seller captures more consumers' surplus than with a uniform price. Yes, that's true. As I told you in the first question, I think if a seller, if a firm, if a monopolist practices price discrimination, is because it's worth. So 1 is true. The seller captures the maximum producer's surplus by doing a third-degree price discrimination. No, that's not true. That's not true. The seller captures the maximum surplus by first-degree price discrimination. That's why we call it perfect discrimination, because the seller, the monopolist, captures all the area that before was from the consumers. Yeah, So we will see some exercises afterwards, I suppose. Let's continue with question number 8. A monopoly always causes deadweight loss. Be careful with this question. This is false. This is false because actually if you practice first degree price discrimination, let's see what happens. This would be the situation in the non-monopolies market, okay? If this marginal cost was the supply curve, okay? Then, so the blue area would be the consumer surplus, yeah? The green area would be the producer's surplus. So blue plus green is the total surplus, yeah, of the two agents. Now, if the monopolist practices first degree price discrimination, it captures all this area that before was the consumer surplus, because the monopoly sells the first unit at this high price, the next unit at a lower price, the next unit at lower prices. Okay, it would be interesting, I didn't do it, but it would be interesting noting that here would be the quantity produced by a non-price discriminating monopolist, and from here the price would be this one. Okay, so all this triangle would be the deadweight loss caused by a non-price discriminating monopolist. Now this area is won by the monopolist, so there's no deadweight loss. We could think that this situation is unfair. We could think that this is an utopic situation, and we are correct. But theoretically, it exists, and it's very, very interesting to see that it's efficient. Okay, maybe not very correct, no, from the ethical point of view or whatever you want, but it's efficient. Okay, so be careful with this situation. I recommend you to be clear with this. Now, number 9. A monopoly is able to perfectly distinguish 3 types of consumers: those who are below 18, those who are above or over 65 years old, and the rest. Okay, because it makes them show their identity card where they want to buy their product it sells. Okay, the monopolist is able to distinguish between this type of consumers because it asks them, to show the identity card. Now, the monopoly could put in place what kind of price discrimination? Clearly, third degree. Clearly, it should say here. I should have said that then the monopolist should I don't know how to say it, but that the consumers can't resell between them the units of the product they bought. That, well, we understand that this is an assumption, and this question normally you answer it correctly. Okay, you are given the possibility to choose in which of the following markets you could act as a monopolist. Which of the following would you choose? Well, would you prefer to be a monopolist in the market of red roses? Well, no, because the consumers of red roses, they have many substitutes. Yeah, if the red roses are too expensive, maybe they will buy another type of flower, or they would buy white roses or pink roses. I don't know. Okay, so maybe I as a monopolist, I can't charge a high price. Yeah, the market of natural gas. Oh, it seems to be true, because the natural gas has not many substitutes. Yeah, well, So we will mark this because the market of cupcakes, of course, the cupcakes are very good, but if the cupcakes are too expensive, I will buy another type of stuff to eat with my coffee or so on. Okay. The market of matches. Well, matches are not very necessary. If the matches are too expensive, well, I could make my fire with other things. Okay. Now, number 11. A monopoly is able to perfectly distinguish three types of consumers, as before. Yeah, because it makes them show their identity card when they want to buy the product it sells. The monopoly will charge a different price to each type of consumer. Well, not always. Win more by charging different price to each type of consumer, of customer. Well, no, because well, you must be clear with this. I told you before, I could earn more by practicing price discrimination, okay, but that's not sure. Okay, we have a good exercise done in class where the monopolist is given the possibility of practicing third-degree price discrimination. We do the calculations, and after doing them, we see that the solution is the same as before, the same as don't practicing price discrimination. Okay, so it's a possibility of winning more, but I can't say that I will win more for sure. Okay, so be careful. D would be the correct one here.